Action.
You are welcome to today's class. I am Folashade Afolabi, your course facilitator for ST 311, teaching physics in secondary schools. The aim of this course is to prepare you towards teaching physics at senior secondary school level, to introduce you to meaning of science and historical development of science education in Nigeria. Also, to help you appreciate the nature of science and outline all science education curriculum reforms both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. To examine the contributions of some cognitive psychologists like David Ausubel, Jerome Bruner, Gain, and Piaget to enhance our knowledge of nature of science teaching. Also, to deal with the basic methods and techniques of teaching of science in secondary schools. On successful completion of this course, you should be able to define the meaning of science and rationale of school science, science teaching and learning. 2. Explain the nature of science, discuss the history of science, trace the historical development of science education in Nigeria from missionaries to colonial development to post-independent period. In today's class, we are going to examine the first study section, that is, meaning of science, justification for school science teaching and learning, nature of science and history of science. Objective of today's lesson. By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to define meaning of science, enumerate reasons for schools science teaching and learning. Meaning of science is different from scholars to scholar, depending on the background and scholastic inclination of authors have proposed many definitions of science. For instance, some philosophers of science see science as a body of knowledge, a way of investigating natural phenomena, and a way of thinking in an attempt to understand nature. This definition entails three components of structure of science, which includes the product, the methods, and the motive of ethics of the discipline. The product of science includes knowledge in the form of concepts, facts, generalization, principles, rules, laws, and theories that are subject to error and change. The method of science includes process involved in how scientific knowledge comes into being. Examples are observing, classifying, inferring, measuring, communicating, interpreting data, and making operational definitions, formulating questions and hypotheses, experimenting and formulating model, and so on and so forth. The ethic of science consists of a set of standards or attitude which guide the day-to-day activities of the scientists. Some of these are curiosity, willingness to suspend judgment, open-mindedness, skepticism, positive approach to failure, and so on. Some others refer to science as a series of endless study of the universe and the phenomena within it through the process of empirical study, observation, which often result into the formulation of tentative concepts and theories within the universe. In a less philosophical perspective, science can be viewed as an organized system of explanation of nature through the process of experimentations, which are usually open to modification in the light of further empirical evidences by the practitioners of science. From what I've said, I've given you different definitions of science. I would like you to assess yourself. I will give you self-assessment exercise. Question 1, define science in your own words. B, state 4 reasons why you think you need to study science in schools. Now, we are going to examine justification for teaching science. Justification for teaching science. An attempt is made to provide a justification or rationale for science teaching in schools. This is important if one must be able to justify the call for investment of resources. both human, material, and financial resources, as well as time in the development of science education. Why do we teach science in secondary schools? Because we need to know, because of investment on science. We invest both human and then the financial resources. And before you invest on something, it means that thing must be very important. Why teaching science? All over the world, science has become a great tool for solving socio-economic problems of mass unemployment, hunger, poverty, poor health facilities, rural-urban drift, population explosion, environmental degradation, and a host of other problems besetting a developing countries like ours. This is based on the great gains, both social, economic, technological, and political, which science and the application of its knowledge, that is technology, has brought to such advanced nations of the world, such as Japan, USA, Canada, Britain, France, Germany, and a host of others. These nations have nurtured science and its application to an enviable status, where it becomes part and parcel of people's culture. It was discovered that the tendency to adopt science and technology for solving societal problems and for creating further wealth dates back to the era of industrial evolution in Europe. For example, the British Empire grew in leaps and bounds in economic and political power because of the use of machine and such other contrivances of science and technology for mass production of goods and services. We want to look at the importance of studying science one after the other, and we will first examine scientific knowledge to the society, the importance of scientific knowledge to the society. The various African nations have long realized the importance of science in the development of human endeavor. This had led to African ministers of education as far back as 1962 to recommend 60% of admission into higher institutions of African countries for scientific and technological based courses, as opposed for 40% for social sciences and humanity courses. No African nation, however, has yet achieved this target. Scientific knowledge and its application have elevated the status of man from Stone Age to space and computer age, subsistence farmer to mass producer. Science has also liberated man, superstition, and fear of nature by offering plausible explanation to natural events and phenomena. These have added meaning to the life and empowered man to manage and live more comfortably in his environment. It also improves the understanding of natural world by man through management of resources, which leads to the identification of validity of healthy life. The second one is the role of science in socio-economic development. The role of science in socio-economic development. The knowledge of science is instrumental to technology, economic, social, and political growth across the globe. The application of scientific knowledge has led to the discovery of hydro and thermoelectric power, gas turbine, and thermonuclear power plants, which is in turn have led to modern industrialization. The fertilizer and petrochemical plants, which have boosted agriculture and other sectors of industrial activities, are only made possible through science. The telephone and the world of information and communication technology, ICT, will be impossible without the basic laws of acoustic, electricity, magnetism, and waves in physics. The principles and laws of physics and chemistry are employed in the construction, manufacturing of vehicles, land, sea, and air, and in the development of modern rockets, nuclear bombs, and missiles used in modern war. The same can be said of the principles of semiconductor devices and electronics, which have led to the development of diodes, rectifiers, integrated circuits, and logic gates, which are widely used in computers and other electronic systems. The development of organic compounds, drugs, and medicine have not only helped in production large yield agricultural products, but also in improving on the living standard of the people. Our oil and other natural resources must be processed into finished products through the instruments of industries like refineries, steel plants, paper mills, and chemical industries for making soap, cosmetics, perfumes, plastics, glass, and pesticides. Now, let's look at scientific knowledge and the attitude of learners. Scientific knowledge and attitude of learner. The implication of scientific development. Implication of scientific development. Exposure of people to knowledge of medical science has brought sophisticated gadgets which are now used to probe even the innermost part of human anatomy. Also, the use of automatic patient monitoring system in hospitals, intensive care units, which not only improve healthcare delivery system, but also helps in the unattended and most reliable patient monitoring, which such as instruments of vital parameters like pulse, blood pressure, body temperature. In addition, the problem of environmental degradation being tackled around the globe stemmed from our understanding of the atmosphere and the overbearing effects of certain human activities on it, and how it impacts negatively on man. Besides the acknowledge of concepts, empirical laws, theories and principles of science, as well as the attitude and process of science combined to add more meaning and satisfaction to our lives. The scientific explanation of phenomena around us help to dispel unwanted fear, banish and superstitions, and provide us with the needed knowledge to be set free at heart. The science also provides us with the requisite expert professionals that will move the nation out of their present wood into the exalted position of national development and economic emancipation. This includes the engineers, doctors, surveyors, scientists, technologists, nurses, computer science, pharmacists, etc. In today's lesson, we have examined reasons for teaching science, the importance of scientific knowledge to society, as well as the roles of science in the economic development of a nation, the implication of scientific development in stabilizing the world. We have learned about the roles played by science and its application in shaping our collective and individual's life. We also saw how science has helped the so-called developed nations get to where they are today. Science has also helped to create wealth in every nation. The more a nation has scientific and technological power, the more it tends to be respected among community of nations. Having been blessed with a lot of natural resources such as rivers, oils, forests, arable land, we must employ the instrument of science and technology to wriggle ourselves out of poverty, which presently stares us in the face. This will be made possible only through a sound and well-articulated scientific education programs mounted in our schools at all levels. Before I go, let me leave you with this assignment. What is the justification for inclusion of science subjects in the curriculum? 2. As a budding scientist, give a definition of science and justify your definition. Thank you.